Honore Recorder, welcome back to the Daily Writer for round 3 of our mini series on the best-selling book formula. Good to have you back again. Thanks.
So super fun to have these conversations with you.
Absolutely. Like I was saying before I hit record on this, I feel like I could talk to you for hours, and there have been times where we have done that.
That's right.
Which I always come away with so many good ideas and things. But back to the point at hand. So we're doing this mini series on the best-selling book formula because I think this is a critical book for every writer to have, no matter what kind of nonfiction book that you're writing. So I'm excited to help promote this and also excited to put this into practice in my own writing and, of course, talk about it on the podcast here today. So the second key that you talk about in your book is making sure that it's easy to remember. And I'm really curious to dive into this because you talk about formulas and in all the books that you have analyzed, this has been a key part of what's making that book successful. So what does it mean easy to remember and how can we implement that into our books?
Yeah. So if you have the opportunity to remember a book title to someone, if someone says, "What are you reading?" and you're like, something about the morning, something about keeping my house organized, right? So the what's the book? What is see? I can't remember it. The life-changing magic of tidying up, right? I think that's
Yeah.
the right title.
Hmm.
But if you can't grasp it like that, like I just did in that moment, you're going to say, "What are you reading?" And I'm going to say, "Oh," and then I'm going to say, "I'm going to remember it." And then I'll text it to you. I'm never going to remember it. I'm never going to text it to you. And the opportunity will have slipped through your fingers. And so the one reader who could have become two readers, who could have become four, and then eight, and then 16, et cetera, lost. You're still at one reader. So making sure that your book is easy to remember is really important. Something about your book has to be easy to remember. It doesn't necessarily have to be the title, but the title's helpful. It doesn't necessarily have to be the message, but that's helpful, right? So there's something about it that needs to be easy to remember so that someone can communicate it to another someone, because the number one way people find out about a book is through recommendation, the number one way, right? And so we want it so that I can remember 18 words to live by, The Faith of Elvis, The Artist's Suitcase. I need to be able to remember those off the top of my head, in addition to my password and my PIN code and my husband's birthday, and to pick up extra dog treats at the grocery store, right? We all have all these things that we have going on in our head. And so if we don't take some time to really connect our message, our title, our process with our readers, then we will miss our moments and we won't even know we missed them, Kent. They'll just slip away.
How does somebody know if their book is easy to remember? Is this where beta readers and some trusted friends can come in handy to tell us if it's easy to remember?
Yes, but I also think that there are a few things that writers can do to help themselves along the way. If you want, I can share.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So the first one is to be crisp, as in short or brief. So back to our previous conversation about why use employment when job will do. Keep it simple. The KISS principle. Keep it simple, silly. Make it so that you can just like the KISS principle, right? I was able to say that on the fly and tell you what it meant without any prompting. Also making it catchy. I think we'll stick with KISS. Keep it simple, silly. It's catchy, and it will remind you to keep it simple, right? And then also, if you can connect it to something else, that's also helpful. And so connecting it to something else means, and this is also the easy to remember part, and I'll just talk about the Miracle Morning again. How connected two things that don't normally go together. So like peanut butter and chocolate. Right? So if you think about the morning, most people go, "Oh, I'm not a morning person. I hate mornings." But now I'm going to have a miracle in the morning. What do you mean? Tell me about that. Or the 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. I can work for 4 hours every week and earn a living. How does that work? I'm curious. So easy to remember is keeping it catchy, keeping it succinct, keeping it so that someone can recall it quickly.
So there's almost an element to this where it's counterintuitive. And so a lot of the books that we're talking about, they have something about them that's the opposite of what you might normally think. Most people think of
Correct.
morning and they think, ugh, I hate mornings.
Yes.
But now
Yes.
in the miracle morning, you're talking about, well, maybe that's the time for the miracle to happen, which is
Right.
totally
And so
counterintuitive.
you're going to put the word miracle, which is something unique and special or uncommon, with the morning. Yeah, okay, tell me how that's going to work, Hal.
Right. Right.
Right. It's uncommon to think of a morning miracle or a miracle morning. And so even though people are not getting that right, they're still remembering it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
How would that apply to something like so we're both fans of Ryan Holiday,
Yes.
of his daily stoic stuff, and he's got a book coming out, The
Yeah.
Daily Dad, which is really, really cool. I'm super excited.
Yeah.
How would that easy to remember concept apply to, let's say, the Daily Stoic book? Is it just the fact that it's called the Daily Stoic and that's such a simple, memorable concept? Like the concept itself is really memorable. So he's kind of checked off that box just by the concept alone.
Yeah. So the Daily Stoic would be easy to remember. If you can remember Stoicism, you can remember Stoic.
Hmm.
And also, Ryan's name is easy to remember because it's holiday. So I
Yeah.
think when I think holiday, I think, ooh, I think the Madonna song Holiday.
Yeah.
And I think
Holiday. I'm
I
not going to
like
attempt to sing Madonna.
holidays, right? I like holidays. And so the fact that he has a unique name is helpful. The fact that it's the Daily Stoic is helpful. Um, the other parts of the Daily Stoic, which we can talk about in subsequent episodes, right? The easy to do and easy
Hmm.
to share piece are factoring in that as well. So he has easy to read. The book is easy to read because it's one day at a time. It's
Yeah.
easy to
Literally one page a day.
literally one page a day. And sometimes it's 3 minutes and sometimes it's 1 minute. It's super easy to do that. Right. And so it meets all of the criteria of the best-selling book formula on every aspect. He checks every
Hmm.
box.
Genius. I love it. I love it. Well, this is fun. And if people can just even take this one thing and put it into practice, easy to remember, that in itself can really transform a book, can it? Even if maybe you have a book that's kind of on some I was gonna use the word esoteric, and then I remember
Uh-oh.
you mentioned don't
Uh-oh.
use the word let's say unique. I'll use the word unique instead
Yes.
of esoteric.
Yes.
That's my professor coming out, I guess.
Yes.
Once a teacher, you're sort of always in that mindset, I guess. But
Yes.
if you have a book concept that's maybe a little unique or maybe complex or something, just making it
Yeah.
easy to remember could really transform it, couldn't it?
Correct. Yes. You can take something that's actually extra complex. And if you can, like the 4 hour work week,
Yeah.
the 4 hour work week
Yeah.
is like 700 million pages long. I mean,
It's
it's
a big
like,
book. Yeah.
it's the book when somebody says people don't read long books and blah blah blah. It's like, okay, but really, it's one of the best selling books in recent
Yeah.
history. So clearly, it flies in the face of all of the excuses. But
Right.
the
Right.
4 hour work week is unusual. It's putting things together that don't necessarily go together. Like a work week is 40 hours, and I'm going to be able to do it in 4. How does that work? I'm curious.
Hmm.
If you read the book, there are 11 billion exercises or things that you can
Right.
do. Why?
Right.
So it's not that it's going to be easy to do necessarily, but you don't have to check all of the boxes. You want to if you can, but you don't have to.
Yeah. Yeah. And that book has such a variety of ideas and content. It's almost like
Yeah.
this collection of things that it's like 100 different things in the book or something, but they're
Yeah.
kind of collected together under this umbrella of the 4 hour work week, which is
Yeah.
genius.
Yes.
Good stuff. All right, so we're gonna move on. Wrap up this episode. English is not my first language, apparently.
Oh,
And we're gonna move on to key number 3 in the next episode. So I will see you there.
okay.